Hi everyone, it's Jen here from Tarot Spirit, here for your weekly reading beginning May 8th. Happy Mother's Day to any mothers out there, and remembering any of our moms that are no longer with us. If you can see, I have my Gryffindor colors on. When I was in Florida recently, I went over to Universal Studio I may have already said this, to the Harry Potter exhibits or whatever you call them. They were unbelievable. It was very exciting. Okay, so did I already say I'm using the Chrysalis Tarot today? I really haven't worked with this deck very much, and I'm not sure why, but it's one of my favorite backs this deck has. So the Five of Stones popping out here. So we're feeling a little, this is sort of the poverty mentality card. We're feeling a little alone, a little bit that we don't have anyone to lean on. We're feeling a lack in some area of our life. You know, that the stones are material, wealth, health, home. So maybe we're just feeling a little lonely, a little empty, a little broke, something like that. I don't know why I'm drawing 4 cards. I usually draw 3, but that's okay. Okay, these cards really are beautiful. I don't know why I don't use them more often. We have the Chariot at the bottom of the reading. This Chariot energy has been surrounding me. For me, it's like, and being at the bottom of the deck, it's like I have all this energy and I'm just so ready to move forward, but it's like nothing's presenting itself. It's almost like the Chariot and the Hanged Man. So when I see the Chariot at the bottom of the deck, that's kind of the feeling. It's like, you know, this is a subconscious or an underlying issue or something that you want to bring to the surface during this week, and it's like we're ready to move on, or we want to travel, we want to move. It could be you want a new car too, on a very mundane level, but it's like you have all this energy and you're just not sure where to direct it, and that could be part of what this Five of Stones, it's like, it's frustrating, you know, and it's like I have all these thoughts, these ideas, this energy, how I want to make my life go, but for some reason, whether I feel like it's a lack of money, a lack of time, a lack of confidence, a lack of support, it's just not happening, and it's making me feel like this. You know, the lesson behind this card is that often there is help and support available, if she were to look up, but she's so focused on herself that she's not really seeing what may be around her, the resources that may be around her that are there to help her. But something's going to change, because here we have the Wheel of Fortune. So something is going to shift this week that is going to make, help us probably go from here to being able to use some of this energy that is there, but it's frustrating us because we can't seem to find an outlet for it. I'm just looking at this card. It's really cool. So the lesson of the Wheel of Fortune, and you can look at the cards as predictive, and this can be like buy a lottery ticket. Things are going to change, karma, what goes around comes around. But the lesson of this card is, in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, you usually have usually have like someone on top, someone's falling on the bottom, someone's getting crushed under the wheel. And so it just shows like there are ups and downs. But if you can try to ride in the center of the wheel, you're not subjected to those peaks and valleys. And this is sort of this would be a valley when you're feeling down and you're feeling crushed, to try to learn, to stay centered and accepting in the center of the wheel, and you won't be subjected to, and of course that's easier said than done. Well, Jen, how do you do that? Well, things like meditation, getting out in nature. I can't believe we don't have the Eight of Pentacles this week, because it comes up all the time. Maybe, we have found our Eight of Pentacles thing that keeps us present and grounded and centered and focused, using things like that, whether it's gardening or running or meditating or whatever it is, knitting, whatever it is, you cooking that you like to do. So use those tools that you cultivate, because I know if you're watching this video, you're a spiritual person. Your yoga, your breathing. If you need to, hold on to a crystal because black tourmaline helps get rid of negative energy. Okay, well, if I'm holding this crystal, then my mind's thinking, release the negative energy. Release the negative energy. Take baths with salt. Whatever you need to do to mentally remind you to sort of try not to get into those, these defeatist moments, and to ride the center of the wheel. And sometimes you need to talk to a professional. I'm a huge believer in therapy and counseling. It's everyone should see a therapist periodically. Then we have the Ace of Scrolls. Did I show you? I have my little cheat sheet here because I forget which is which. So this is the the Ace of Swords. And this is a new thought. It's clarity. Perhaps we had, excuse me, I'm sorry. Perhaps we just had too many thoughts spinning in our mind, churning in our mind. And when we take some deep breaths, get centered, try to release some of that negativity and those defeatist thoughts, we can get really clear and focused on what we need to do to really bring this energy of the Chariot to the surface, and cutting away all that. The Ace of Swords gets to the truth of the matter. It cuts away all the extraneous crap that we attach to situations, whether it's like baggage we just carry along from past experiences, or other people telling us this and that and confusing the situation. No, what's the bottom line? What's the kind of get focused on the bottom line, so you don't get caught up in all that those other things that can just be distracting and defeating. And then we have the Nine of Wands. So this is a card of perseverance. It's, if you think about the wand suit, the journey through the wands, I think I may do a video on this at some point. The Ace of Wands, it's like striking that match, lighting that fire. It's the first ignition of excitement and motivation. And as you walk through the suit of wands, you come up against things that threaten to put your fire out, to lose your motivation, to dampen your spark. And when you get to the Nine of Wands, it's like you've gone through, you're at the 9. You haven't let anything, and even though you may be weary, you still have that spark going, and you can make it to the end. It's kind of like, I don't run marathons, but I would have to imagine when you hit like mile 20, like those last however long, 6.5 miles or however long a marathon is, I could just imagine those seeming insurmountable. But it's like you're almost there. You've already gone 20. What's another 6? So it's just telling you you can do it. You can do it. And just reminding yourself of the goal, what's clear, your single focus, and staying centered. Because I think this Chariot is going to be prominent the following week. We're going to be able to really grab the reins and move forward. Just something that caught my eye with this Ace of Swords in this deck. It's a communication, a card of communication, and the key is reminding me of the Lenormand, like the key, some key piece of information is going to come about this week. So persevere, try to use all your tools to try to get yourself out if you're feeling a little down. You know, things are changing. It's temporary. That's a good thing. You know, this is only temporary. I used to get really overwhelmed with things. Like one thing would happen and I wouldn't sleep. It would just spiral out of control. And so I used to write, like something would happen and I'd write it down. And I would go back a week later and I'd look through I'd write it down like in a meeting planner. I had a paper copy one. And half the things I had totally forgotten about. Like it seemed like it was the worst thing in the world at that moment. It was all consuming. And I realized how ridiculous it was, you know, like what a waste of time and energy. Something that isn't even significant a week later, let alone a month later or a year later. And it really allowed, so when I'd feel myself get filled with a lot of anxiety when something would happen, I would say, Jen, is this going to matter in a week? Is it going to matter in a month? Are you even going to remember it in a year? And usually the answer was no. And so I'd be like, try to let it go. Don't focus on it. Don't think about it. And it really, actually, I still do that to this day. It really helps me a lot. And everyone's going to find their own technique that works. Someone talked to me about tapping, which I'd never heard of, and I'm going to look into that because I think there are triggers, and if we can find some way, again, whether it's rubbing a stone. I have this nice worry stone, and that when you rub it, breathe. All sorts of different ways. I'm sure there's a million YouTube videos to help deal with anxiety when you're triggered. So persevere, because this Chariot's coming and it's going to be exciting. Okay, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you at the next video. Take care.